Friday, November 15th, 2013. This is Blue Sky's Truth Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. What up, truth seekers? You are in the right place. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blue Sky's Truth Radio Show with your host, Bauer. Coming to you from our studios in the beautiful Toronto, Canada, this is episode 18. On today's show, we're going to talk about growing, juicing, what you can do in the garden in November and December, predictive programming, and false flag attacks. On our last show, we wrapped up our segment on the 10 best herbs to be growing indoors over the wintertime. We read an article called 10 Reasons Why the Flu Shot Might Be More Dangerous Than the Flu Itself, and we heard about a documentary I recently watched called Weibo's War. Great film. This movie actually reminds me a lot about what's going on in Canada with the anti-shale gas protests that were happening in New Brunswick. Wow, I just saw a few YouTube videos that were recommended to the show. Clashes between the RCMP and some Native American protesters. Pretty scary stuff. I cannot believe this is happening. I sincerely hope as a nation we can start waking up and say no to the pipeline in Canada, no to this shale gas exploration, and yes to solar energy, windmills, and other renewable resources as opposed to gas, coal, and nuclear. This is pretty scary stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and the environmental impacts are more than we know. I would like to thank everyone who has taken a part in our Grow Together event. We are promoting sprouting on the show. For their low cost and high nutritional content, sprouting is the fastest and cleanest way for us to start taking back our health and have a minimal impact on the environment while eating truly green food. If you have a garden at home, congratulations and thank you very much for growing. That is truly a blessing. There's a lot of stuff you could be doing in the garden in November and December to truly prepare for a plentiful spring harvest. You can actually aerate the soil right now. You can dig up any old plants that won't be coming back, and you can protect your perennials that will be coming back next year. You can also mix in your finished compost in the garden right now. This would be the perfect time to do it. You can collect some leaves and cover your garden beds with about a 6 to 8 inch blanket of leaves. That'll provide an excellent source of mulch for the wintertime and can be turned right into the garden in the springtime. You can also plant some kale and carrot seeds, onions and potatoes and other seeds that will lay dormant for the winter and automatically start growing in the springtime. You will be the first house on the block with greens in your backyard next year if you do the work now. How exciting. And if you want, you can start growing herbs indoors right now that can be easily transplanted outside come springtime. Until then, you'll have fresh herbs to pick daily for your meals and teas. How exciting. If you've got a worm bin and you're keeping it outside, make sure that you've got enough insulation to keep the worms warm during the frigid winter temperatures. Depending on the size of your worm bin and worm population, I've heard many people keeping their bins outside through the wintertime and everything is fine. Now would be an excellent time to mix in your finished castings and some worm tea into your garden beds and herbs and flowers around the house. Give them a nice little organic boost. Throw some of that rich compost into the garden as well and mix it around. You really give it a nice good mixing. Try to take out any rocks that might impede the growing of any carrots and whatnot. And if you do the work now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you right now, you might even be able to plant some winter greens that you can just turn right into the soil after the wintertime for some extra nitrogen. But growing is the most peaceful, therapeutic, and rebellious thing we can be doing today. So please try to grow with us if you get the chance. As a matter of fact, it's very easy to be growing, and Toronto Worm Company has a slogan: anyone can grow anywhere. And it's absolutely true, no matter where you are. If you've got a backyard, even if you've got a window, you can be growing some sort of greenery that feeds your soul and your body. I was talking with a friend of mine today about juicing. We are trying to get back into juicing. It's such a beautiful thing to be consuming all these micronutrients that your body doesn't have to do any extra work to break down because the juice is already in liquid form. I mean, eating a steak is nice and you get a lot of energy from a steak, but think about how much energy has to be used by the human body to convert that steak into liquid so that it could be absorbed and then transferred into energy. Whereas when you juice, all of that is already in liquid form, readily available to be absorbed by the body. I'll give you an example of the juice that we had today. We had some carrots, some kale, some grapes. We threw in an orange and a lemon. I find when I use my citrus fruits, I like to throw the skins in as well. And that actually is why it's even more important to be buying organic, because we do use the skins and whatnot. So even though we do wash the fruits and vegetables, these plants and fruits that have been sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, sometimes it gets right into the skin itself, right? So we mixed that up. We also used a beet. Beets are really good for you. And what else did we have in there? I believe it was a grapefruit, a lot of citrus today. But we blended it up and we drank it, and it was absolutely delicious. Oh, and also half a cucumber as well. That's nice. We grew some cucumbers last year. They take up a lot of room in the backyard. If you guys get a chance, grow some cucumbers. As a matter of fact, we grew a pumpkin last year. I'm going to tell you guys about a pumpkin that we grew before we cut to commercial break. 2 years ago, we went pumpkin picking, a bunch of us, and we picked some fresh pumpkins. Came home, carved them for Halloween, and we also ate the seeds. Well, what do you know? We put the rest of the pumpkin into the compost. After the next year, when the compost was ready to be used, we put the compost into the garden. Well, what do you know? 6 weeks later, up came a little leaf, and I looked at it and I said, that looks like a pumpkin or a cucumber. Turned out to be a pumpkin, guys. We had an accidental pumpkin. You are now listening to Toronto's trippiest radio station. This is Blue Skies Radio, where we get together, share some laughs, tell some truth stories, and watch the chemtrails fly. Tune in Monday through Friday. Hey, it's Ryan from Blue Skies Radio. Do you eat food? Do you have a backyard? Do you have a balcony? Do you have a window? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you should be growing food. If you're not growing food, what are you thinking? You might be thinking it's a little bit too difficult. You don't know how to start. Well, give us a call at TorontoWormCompany.com and we'll show you how anyone can grow anywhere. 416-839-4769. It's your right to grow. I wasn't eating enough fruits or vegetables, that's why I turned to Beyond Tangy Tangerine. It's a unique multivitamin mineral complex in powdered form, a natural antioxidant that packs a whopping 115 fruits and vegetables within it to support optimal health and a healthy immune, cardiovascular, and digestive system. Give us a call today at 416-839-4769. That's 416-839-GROW. And we're back. Taking a look at Toronto's weather. Sunny until chemtrails. You know the drill. What in the world are they spraying? Have you seen it yet? Tell you what I haven't seen. The sun. Haven't seen the sun in weeks. I feel vitamin D deficient. Well, thank goodness I've got my supplements. But that ain't cutting it. I want some real sun. So please, let's see if we can stand in unity to get these criminals to stop spraying us with their chemtrails. I cannot believe this is happening. All right, we were just talking about juicing. I feel absolutely fantastic. I hope you guys get the opportunity to juice every single day. It feels great. Make sure you take your herbs with caution though. As we know, herbs are very potent and powerful. Talking about herbs, the bees will really need our help. The bees are in trouble, so next year, if you get an opportunity, please try to plant a big patch of yellow flowers and a big patch of blue flowers for the bees. You know, the bees are really only out, they're sun creatures, so they're out predominantly between May and October. But I wanted to take this time right now just to put the idea in your heads. The bees need fresh drinking water as well, and sometimes they have to fly for miles just to get some fresh water. So if you can do us a favor, put out a little bowl of fresh water during the spring, between the months of October, basically, May and October. Put out some fresh water for the bees and change it out daily, please. Also, do what you can to not use any sort of pesticides or toxic chemicals on your garden anymore. We don't need to use pesticides. As a matter of fact, there is some companion gardening techniques that you can use in order to maintain a healthy organic garden. The bugs that love tomatoes, they hate basil, and the bugs that love basil hate the smell of tomatoes. So how perfect is that? You plant your basil and your tomato together, and then you're bug free. So not only do they work well in the garden, but on the plate as well, tomato and basil, right? So take a look at that. How fantastic. There are tons of other companion gardening aspects that we can look at. We'll be talking about those more in the coming shows, especially during the springtime, so that we can all get ready for our gardens. I just wanted to pump you up and get you ready. All right, I feel great. Thanks a lot. And, make sure you keep juicing with us. Guys, I had an email sent to the show. It was a little cartoon of the GMO Breakfast Club, and it looked like they were in detention. It was Toucan Sam, the Fruit Loops cartoon. It was Tony the Tiger. Captain Crunch was there. Oh my word, the GMO Breakfast Club. Who is so funny that they can put that together? All right, Off the Grid News was talking about Walmart and other big businesses preparing for down power grids with alternative energies. Looks like the big businesses are building their own little power grid boxes. Good, I like to see them being prepared. I don't know where they think the money's going to be coming from, though, if the power grid ever went down. But yeah, nice to see. Activist Post put together an article called Signs of a False Flag. I guess that was of interest recently because of the TSA shooting. But there's been absolute huge signs of false flags. We already know that. They run drills actually in and around the same time that these false flag attacks actually happen. If you've looked at 9/11, 7/7/7, the bombings in London, you look at Sandy Hook, the Boston Marathon, at each one of these events, the terrorist events, they were actually running anti-terrorist drills where they were quote unquote running a drill to stop these terrorists, from potentially causing harm. It was just a drill, they say, and then magically the exact same thing happens. That's pretty shifty if you ask me, but I don't want to get into it too much. I just thought I would point that article to you guys. It's called activistposts.com, and the article is Signs of a False Flag. Let's see if we can read those really quickly. 11 Signs of a False Flag by Brendan Turbeville. Throughout history, versions of the false flag attack have been used successfully by governments in order to direct the force of the people towards whatever end the ruling class may be seeking. At times, that end may be war, or it may be the curtailing of domestic civil liberties and basic human rights. In others, it is an economic agenda. Indeed, false flags are themselves capable of taking on a wide variety of forms, domestic or foreign, small or large, economic or political, and many other designations that can often blur into one another. Each may serve as a specific purpose, and each may be adjusted and tailored for that specific purpose as societal conditions require. For instance, the chemical weapons attack, which took place inside Syria in August 2013, serve as an example of a foreign false flag designed to whip up American fervor for war on the platform of responsibility to protect, similar to the Gulf of Tonkin. Domestically speaking, a large-scale false flag such as 9/11 can be used to whip up both a massive public support for war and a popular willingness to surrender civil liberties, constitutional procedure, and constitutional human rights. Economic false flags may take the form of manufactured government shutdowns or government defaults, designed to create a demand for austerity or other pro-Wall Street solutions. Lastly, smaller-scale domestic false flags, such as Sandy Hook or Aurora, often involve the implementation of gun control measures or a greater police state. There are, of course, many different versions of a false flag attack, and none fit tightly crafted classifications beyond the generalized term false flag. As stated above, some false flags may indeed embrace an element of each different versions listed previously in both terms of methodology and purpose. For those of you who don't know what a false flag attack is, it's where you dress up your plane in the colors of your enemy, and then you fly in and you attack your own people, and basically other people see the flag of the enemy and they say, hey, we've been attacked by the enemy, and then you start a war. Have you ever wanted to fly? The very first time I saw my father fly by with his rollerblades, I knew that was something I wanted to do. 25 years later, I'm a trained professional. Hi, I'm Ryan from TorontoWormCompany.com, and I'm here to let you know that rollerblading is the best feeling I've ever had in my life. Take it from me, I've been skydiving, I've been go-karting, I've even gone swimming with sharks, but nothing compares to that feeling I get when I rollerblade. The wind blowing in your hair, people are smiling at you, they all want to do it. You can see it in their eyes. They just want to grab some skates and skate with you. Well, now's your chance, world. Give me a call at 416-839-4769, and you can learn to fly. Now listening to Toronto's trippiest radio station. You are in for a hell of a motherfucking ride. Stay tuned and put on your tinfoil hat. This is the Think Tank. Ooh, yeah. I love that Blue Skies radio. Dig it. And we're back. You can find us on the web, bstr.ca, iTunes, BlackBerry Podcast. You know the drill. We're taking a look at this false flag attack here. I thought it was prudent to read the article, especially because we already know of some infamous false flag attacks that have happened and changed the course of history. I would suspect that the number one most important day on planet Earth has to be 9/11. I mean, that was the one that shaped the minds and hearts of the people the most, shaped most of our laws that we have in place today. And I mean, I believe in my heart of hearts that 9/11 was an inside job. That is my fair stance. I don't believe that buildings crumble. I believe that the buildings were exploded. There was not a collapse. That was an explosion of all three buildings, and then that was a controlled demolition of Building 7 as well. Do you guys know there was a third tower that went down on 9/11? AE911.org works night and day in order to help spread truth and awareness about the issue. Take a look at that. Trained architects and engineers, over 2,000 of them, have joined up together to speak and protest about what happened on 9/11. And the laws that have shaped our planet since then. All right, so this article goes on to name off 10 basically things that you can take a look at. Number 1, will it be a high-profile event? Number 2, changing stories. Number 3, simultaneous drills. Number 4, key bono. Number 5, unanswered questions. 6, the case is quickly closed. Number 7, suspects' connection to the CIA, FBI, or other intelligence agencies. Number 8, a convenient scapegoat. Number 9, the media promotes a narrative against scapegoat groups and or an agenda to take liberties. And number 10, government begins to take action against the scapegoat or moves along the lines of the media narrative. And number 11, clues pop up in media. Wow, what a fantastic one. Let's expand a little bit on that last one. Pop media clues, more accurately described as predictive programming, is more easily identified in hindsight. Haha, you got that right. This often involves the portrayal of the very innocent occurring in a movie or television show. In other instances, it may involve the conspicuous or even inconspicuous placement of random details of the attack into movies and television. For example, The Lone Gunman, a short-lived spin-off of The X-Files, carried a storyline in which a passenger plane was hijacked via remote control and was being flown into the World Trade Center towers. In The Dark Knight Rises, a very curious reference was made to Sandy Hook with a map of Newtown, Connecticut on the wall. Yeah, that was definitely frightening, ladies and gentlemen. The Lone Gunman, if you guys haven't seen that, I believe it aired in the summer of 2001, months before it happened. And I mean, I didn't get to see it until years after the attacks of September 11th. However, it is almost precisely word for word exactly what happened, and it aired before the attacks. And I mean, we already know that Hollywood's used to mold the minds and hearts of the people. You can tell from them any sort of major events that have happened. You can take a look at Hollywood and you can see what movies are coming out in and around that time. I do believe moving into the summer of 9/11, 2001, that would be, the blockbuster was, what do you know it, you guessed it, predictive programming at its finest. It was Pearl Harbor with Ben Affleck. So make of that what you will. And we all know about predictive programming. As a matter of fact, there was a great little article, a video clip someone put together about predictive programming on CSI New York, where they talked about chemtrails. Oh, and now it's time for our quote of the day. This quote brought to you by Toronto Worm Company, where anyone can grow anywhere. 416-839-GROW. Predictive programming is a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to acquaint the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by the powers that be. Dutch Phil. That quote brought to us by Toronto Worm Company, where anyone can grow anywhere. 416-839-4769. That's 416-839-GROW. Excellent quote for the day, especially because we're talking about predictive programming. We were just talking about CSI New York having an episode where they were talking about a teacher who turned out to be a terrorist at the end, and they knew he was a terrorist because he was talking about chemtrails, tsunami bombs, and fluoride in the water. How nice is that? All of a sudden now, when you're concerned about your fellow citizens, you are a terrorist. Thank you very much, predictive programming. Of course, at the end, the teacher tried to kill everyone, and he actually was a psychotic killer in the show, right? Oh, how perfect. There's another example of predictive programming in Family Guy, where they had the Boston Marathon winner was Peter, and they had a couple of bombing explosions. How nice is that? You know, they were running drills at the Boston Marathon where they had planned explosions to happen. What's going on with these drills, man? Those are some pretty scary things. Michael Hastings, Mercedes-Benz, we've got a problem. Rest in peace, Michael Hastings. You did the movement well. Blue Skies Truth Radio, we love you. Ooh, yeah.
I love that Blue Skies radio. Dig it.